Nerds will often attach themselves to some very strange properties, transforming them into cult classics and cultivating a huge and loyal fan base. A fan base that will fucking cut you if you badmouth their baby.
Some of the greatest examples include Star Trek, Star Wars, funny books, fighter games like Mortal Kombat, Homesuck, Japanimation, and of course, Final Fantasy.
Even after games like Nier and Final Fantasy XIII, Square-tards foam at the mouth if you even dare to bring up the shittiness of their mechanics, storytelling, characters, and plots.
Unless, of course, you're talking about the movies.
Well, today, for our fancy 10th episode, we're going to be tackling that monument to frothing fanwankery, Final Fantasy VII Advent Children.
We open on a huge plot dump in the very elusive helicopter graveyard, where helicopters migrate in their final moments. Copter blight, if you will.
It's kind of a catch-up for people who haven't played 7. You know, like Jacqueline.
I'm going to be providing the voice of the outsider. The unfan, if you will. All I know about the series are the characters' names and that Sephiroth is apparently some kind of god among fanboys.
Oh hey, there's Red 13, and he has puppies.
Aww. I'm sure this is relevant somehow. He's totally main character, right?
Actually, he has one line throughout the entire film.
Fuck. So what happens now?
Well, now we get short montages of various FF7 characters doing nothing all that relevant before we get right to the meat of the story.
Tifa's boobs. They've apparently received a very important phone call.
Yeah, it seems that Cloud has been promoted from savior to delivery boy?
That's a logical step forward for him.
He and Tifa apparently run a bar, but his main job seems to consist of making the aforementioned deliveries, which he, never seems to do in the movie.
The real main character of our story, however, is not Cloud or Tifa. It's the magnificent and invincible cell phone. More on him in a minute.
Cloud is out and about, just chilling on his bike and brooding about how staggeringly unlikable he is. Then he's suddenly beset by 3 vaguely androgynous, black-clad, silver-haired villains.
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
You know, it's probably best to do a roll call since we have such a preponderance of villainy here. Let's introduce our fabulous antagonists, our fabtagonists, if you will.
Laws here is the butchest of the 3, though that's a damn low bar to set, and fights with a weapon best described as the hybrid love child of a cestus and a stun gun. For no adequately explored reason, his brothers constantly taunt him and call him a crybaby.
Yazu, by contrast, is the one with the longest hair and the least testosterone. Not to mention the least screen time. He's a gunfighter, wielding a pair of sort of hokey pistol-sword combos.
Okay, I'm officially going to spend the rest of this review making as many Yahoo Serious references as I possibly can.
The last is Kadaj, whose hair is neither too long nor too short, but just right. Just right to qualify as the poster child for the emo revolution, anyway. If these 3 were a boy band, Kadaj would be the brooding, sensitive one. He seems to be the ringleader.
The trio ambush Cloud by sicking a pack of dog-like monsters that they're able to summon out of nowhere, somehow. Then, Yazu and Laws ride in to join the fray themselves, leading to
sword fights on motorcycles!
For Cloud, however, being attacked by nihilistic, beleathered superhuman Bishonen is a bog-standard Tuesday afternoon, so he's able to fight them off for some time. Then, despite having the clear advantage, the baddies retreat for some reason.
Cloud sort of shrugs and continues on his merry way. Then he answers a call from the remnants of the Shinra Corporation's leadership.
Arriving at the meeting, however, Cloud is ambushed by everyone's favorite entirely pointless mini-bosses Reno and Rude, but casually asserts his main character status before conferring with Emperor Palpatine?
Yes. That was what they called me, though now it is Palpatine the White.
No, it's Rufus Shinra, and he tries to enlist Cloud in dealing with the 3 amigos and rebuilding the world. Cloud, being a whiny, self-absorbed bitch, ellipses his way out of the conversation and resumes his pining over his almost dead, almost girlfriend Eris.
Seriously? He saved the fucking world and he lives in a dilapidated ruin?
I blame the economy.
Anyway, Laws shows up demanding to know where Mother is. Tifa's boobs haven't the slightest idea what he's babbling about and deal with the problem the only way they knows how. She tries to punch it until it's fixed or totally broken.
After an impressive battle in which Tifa's boobs show off their general badassery and spectacular fashion, Laws decides to stop playing around and busts out his plot device superpowers.
Just as he's about to finish her off, however, he's distracted by Marlene, who decides that the best way to stop Laws is to chuck Cloud's collection of materia at him. I know that I find the best course when confronted by an impossibly powerful enemy is to throw power-boosting artifacts at him. Works every time.
Man, what a useless turd. I would prefer if they made a movie called Marlene and Me, where instead of like a little sister or a ward or something, she's like Cloud and Tifa's pet, and then she eats some chocolate and dies. Japanese girls have the same allergies as dogs, right? I mean, that's why girl Pocky is strawberry instead of chocolate, right?
After that brief interlude, we get to the real meat of the movie, the Nokia commercial. Yes, cell phones. It's the perfect promotion because whenever Final Fantasy is mentioned, my first instinct is to call someone who gives a shit.
As is to be expected if you have an IQ that is higher than your shoe size, Laws takes off with Marlene and the materia. Who could have seen that coming, you dumb twat? This leaves Tifa alive, but too hurt to do anything but exposit and deliver moral support for the remainder of the movie. Tifa is a useless side character who contributes nothing? I would have never guessed that in a million years.
Oh, did we mention that the Final Fantasy equivalent of the Black Death is in full swing? Geostigma, as it's called, is an illness that plagues all those who were infected with, quote, Genova cells after the destruction of the game's Big Bad a couple of years ago.
We'd explain what all of this bullshit means, but if you haven't played through Final Fantasy VII, then why are you even watching this train wreck?
Because we're reviewing it.
Among the infected is Denzel, one of the orphans that Cloud and Tifa care for. Denzel is... His illness has apparently affected his mind, because he casually gets in the van with the Leather Triplets, who promise him and dozens of other stigma victims a cure.
What they get instead is a field trip to Crystal Song Forest and a pompous cult leader speech by Kadoosh. Compounding his stupidity, Denzel then proceeds to drink the Kool-Aid and falls under Kajagoogoo's control.
It's about this time the Cloud shows up, riding directly into the assembled children of the damned. Predictably, hampered by the need to avoid injuring the children, triple-teamed and out-fabulous to boot, Cloud is having a tough time of it.
Just as all seems lost, a red blur descends to bail Cloud and Marlene out of trouble, revealing itself to be the Flash.
No, it's Vincent Valentine, voiced here by Spike Spiegel himself, Stephen Bloom. Having Deus Ex Machina his way into this movie, he trades vague pseudo-philosophical bullshit with Cloud, and then they set off back to Midgar. Well, that accomplished nothing.
Are you kidding? Did you see how badass that cell phone was?
Alright, point taken. Fare thee well, Nokia. You were the real hero.
Back in Midgar, Yazoo and Laws are busy making the Turks look even more ineffectual than they were before. Kadaj, by contrast, is busy ranting at Darth Rufus about the coming reunion, hinting that Sephiroth will be somehow coming back.
You know, that would have been a much more dramatic reveal if Sephiroth wasn't plastered all over the DVD case.
Kadoosh decides to use Cloud's materia to summon Bahamut and wreak havoc in the city because why the fuck wouldn't you?
Wait, why would they do that?
They're looking for Genova, remember?
Oh, yes, of course. I forgot. This plot is just so deep and complex that it went totally over my head.
It's time for the useless bit character cameo parade. This is the part where every small, unpopular, or actively hated character crawls out of the woodwork to annoy the audience as they attempt to annoy the monster. It's honestly better assumed that they don't even accomplish that, because everyone knows that Cloud is the only entity in the world who is allowed to accomplish anything in Final Fantasy ever again.
Through a ridiculously unlikely and physics-defying chain reaction alley-oop maneuver and the mysterious intervention of Aeris's ghost for a much-needed pep talk, Cloud is able to finish off Bahamut and prove once again just who's the main character around here.
Kadoosh is understandably put out at Cloud's interference, and Rufus chooses this precise moment to reveal that, dun dun dun, he's had the remains of Genova all along. He's literally been sitting there not 10 feet away holding a capsule full of Genova gack, and Kadaj was none the wiser.
Rufus then proceeds to deliver perhaps the sickest burn imaginable.
A good son would have known.
Kadoosh throws a massively magical temper tantrum, resulting in the capsule being breached. It's time for another self-indulgent installment of
Sword fights on motorcycles.
Surely you didn't think we were done with that one just yet.
Laws and the serious ones suffer the most ignominious of fates. They're seemingly taken out by the fucking Turks.
Wow, talk about an embarrassing way to go.
Cloud does manage to catch up with Kadoosh eventually, and wouldn't you know it, it's time for the fight scene.
Alright, we're almost to the end of this thing. Where the hell is Sephiroth? You promised me Sephiroth, movie.
I think that might have been a tease, because it's way too late to introduce him now without a heaping dose of Deus Ex and a jarring continuity shift.
Wait for it. Kadoosh finally figures out that the capsule is breached, and it douses him with a little bit of Mommy's royal jelly.
Kadajamon, digivolve into...
Sephiroth World.
What follows is perhaps this movie's crowning glory. It's Captain Mike, if you will. Sephiroth proceeds to go all sick house on Cloud's ass to the glorious accompaniment of Nobuo Uematsu's One-Winged Angel, remixed and performed by Black Mage.
This song is probably worth all the silliness the movie has indulged in this far.
Cloud, for once faced with an enemy even more improbably badass, over the top, and fabulous than himself, is forced into the defensive. He dodges the sword strokes, buildings, and various sundry other nonsense that Sephiroth throws his way.
The fight hits a turning point, however, when Sephiroth makes one intrinsically fatal error. One perfect storm of a mistake.
What's that?
He connects and impales Cloud through the shoulder with his ludicrous 14-foot-long sword.
For those of you who don't realize the significance of this, consider also that Sephiroth just filled Cloud's limit gauge.
He is so boned!
Boy, howdy he is. One Omni-Slash later, and Sephiroth is defeated, melting back into the significantly less awesome form of Kadoosh. I'm sure his trainer will be along soon to put him back in his Digitwatch.
The three Cephal-gangers launch a suicide run on the weakened Cloud, resulting in a huge Akira-splosion.
Then Cloud just wakes up.
He's fine, well, except for the stigma. Did we mention that he has the geostigma? Yeah, of course it doesn't matter, since Eris's ghost makes it rain some magic up in this bee. Deus Ex Waterfall!
So the magical healing rain that happens because...
Silence. Square fans don't ask questions.
And it heals everyone of the geostigma and restores balance to the Force.
So we're led to believe that all is well, and that Cloud has now moved on from his whiny broodfest over Eris's death.
And that, dear viewers, was Advent Children. How did it fare?
Fuck this movie. Fuck Final Fantasy Advent Children. Fuck its shitty plot. Fuck its crappy one-note, bad trope, racist caricature characters. I hate all of it. I have hated this movie the first time I watched it, and it has not gotten better with any subsequent viewings.
Okay, so maybe all that's a little bit too harsh, but I really have never been impressed with Final Fantasy VII. I played it when it first came out, and I thought, oh, well, this is at least as good as 5. But that's neither here nor there, because this is more about the movie, and the movie really focuses on the greatest weaknesses of the game. Cloud is as boring as white Play-Doh. The story is horse shit. Barely any of the characters have any depth. I hate the slow-ass, unemotive dialogue. And I hate the perpetual loose ending that the series never seems to cover. This movie has nothing going for it except Nobuo Uematsu.
I would rather watch The Spirits Within than Advent Children again. It's time to grow out of the religion. Square Enix can do wrong sometimes, kiddies, and this is definitely one of those times.
As someone who's never played 7, and someone who only did the most basic of research, I had no idea what the fuck was going on. Who the fuck were those clones? Where did they come from? What's the reunion? With all the plot dumping they did, you'd think they'd cover that. It's kind of important. I also feel like they wasted all the side characters while still giving Cloud no story. It's vapid, and it's shallow, but at least it's pretty. If you're not a diehard Final Fantasy VII fan, or a Cloud blower, you're probably going to be bored to death by this movie. I know I sure was. Hell, I'm dead right now.
Perhaps because I played the hell out of Final Fantasy VII back in the day, I'm not nearly as mad at this movie as my colleagues are.
This movie is gorgeous, and as I said, the remix of One-Winged Angel is amazing. That said, this is a pale and sickly shadow of what it could have been. Pretty visuals aren't enough to make a movie, people, and the plot and characters of this film are paper thin. Where did the Bishi's 3 come from in the first place? What are they even trying to accomplish exactly? The bottom line is that this film is a series of gloriously drool-worthy fight scenes strung together by nothing but prepackaged angst and a bland, unlikable main character, whose primary personality trait is his superhuman moping over a woman that he didn't even have the sense to drop a phoenix down on years ago. The whole fucking world is depending on you, Cloud. Man up and find a pair, for fuck's sake.
And that's Season 1. We're really sorry that we're 2 months behind schedule, but we are super grateful to everybody who stayed with us.
We'll be back next month, hopefully with a regular release schedule. We still have plenty of movies to share with you guys. And who knows, maybe you'll see something you wouldn't have otherwise.
It's been a great year, and we're thankful to everyone who stuck with us through setback after setback. Happy New Year from Film Inflicted Trauma.
I like this place.
I mean, I was afraid it would be something random and silly.
Music videos.
What's this guy's name? Christo? Cisco? Crisco?
Also, this has nothing to do with anything else but penis.
Somehow every character in this movie is simultaneously worse than every other character in this movie.
I hate it when my tits don't have any meaning.
This is your baby. I took it out of your lover. She's dead now.
The devil, you say?
I terminate thee. I terminate thee. I terminate thee.
I guess I'm ready to fight demons now.
We ride.
Midnight Syndicate! Woo!
I dreamt we were all stuck watching Secrets of the Clown. Oh.
I guess I'll go marry me a couple of new fuckers now.
This song is probably worth all the silliness the movie has indulged in this far. This song is probably worth all the porn and shit. I almost said China Pan, I don't know. Let me redo that.
Why not?
This song is probably worth all the porn in Japan. This song is probably worth all the porn I write about Sherlock. This song is probably worth all the
Sword fights on motorcycles.
There it goes. Excuse me.
It was lying
One
in
for the
wait.
outtakes.
No! This song is probably worth all the junk in Sephiroth's trunk.
Oh, jeez.
That's a good one.
That's pretty good.
I like that. This song is probably worth all the I ate the pieces, the 2 pieces.
Oh,
I actually thought about doing that. It's like, no, I can't do it the way you can. And it's embarrassing.
What, that you can't do it as well as I can, or the I do it?
That you do it.
it could be all those things and more.
It can.
Yes?
Alright, let's do it.